All right, what's up, guys? Vivi back with another video, another deck tech video. Today we got Rob Lucci up, guys. We're going to go over two decks by Rob Lucci that I find very interesting, and in my personal deck building, y'all know I like to build black decks. That is the color I stick to in One Piece. That's the color I love to run in One Piece. So of course I've been looking at Rob Lucci decks, and these two decks are interesting because I have messed around with both of them, not in the exact same numbers. So let's climb right into it, and let's get into this. I only have two decks that I was able to really poke out of the list on the OnePieceTopDecks.com for the OP04 stuff. This one took place on 6/18, and the other one takes place on 6/25. We'll talk about that one right after this first one. Yeah, very interesting, right? I know anyone who looked at the screen knew, like, oh, that's interesting. So, okay, so the first list looks very, very straightforward, a CP list. So, Rob Lucci, let me read the card for you guys so that y'all know what is going on here, because he actually does not need to be CP in the deck himself. Okay, and we're going to talk about that in the next video, and not in the next video, excuse me, in the next deck and in this one a little bit. So Rob Lucci reads this. Okay, first of all, he's a 5k power, 5 life leader. Your turn, once per turn, you may discard 2 cards from your hand. When an opponent's character is KO'd, put this leader as active. Notice how nothing said CP. You don't have to discard 2 CP cards. You don't have to discard. No. Just perfectly average, perfectly vanilla, that effect, right? So let's just keep that in mind when we're going through these cards. Okay, so first up, let's just read through the list, then we'll talk about it. So we got Rob Lucci as the leader, of course. Kaku, 4 Kaku, 4 Khalifa, 3 Kumadori, 4 Gats, 4 Bartolomeo, 4 Monkey D. Luffy, 4 Rebecca, 4 Jabra, 3 Spandam. I like that number on Spandam. 2 Nero, 3 Bluno, 4 Air Doors, 4 Gum Gum King Kong Guns. That seems aggressive. And 3 Truna Bastardo. Okay. This is a very interesting list to me, right? This is so interesting because, okay, you're running 2 Searchers. That is so nice. Now, you're only running 7 altogether. It's 4 and 3 ratio. 4 Rebeccas to 3 Spandam. And it looks like for your we're still very early in CP. We don't have a lot of CP cards just yet. Notice he's running 2 vanillas, right? Like literal, like Kumadori and Jabra. Oh, excuse me, 3. And he's running Nero. So just straight up vanilla package. Right. So let's take a look real quick. He's running 4 Kaku, 4 Khalifa, 4 Jabra, and then 3 for Spandam, Bluno, and Kumadori, and 2 Nero. So what is that? 9 plus 2 is 11, plus 12, 23. Did I do that right? I think 23 for his CP package. Oh, and Eridor. Excuse me, and Eridor. So that, I think it goes up to 27. Right, then 4, 8, 12, 16, 23. Yes, 23 for the Dressrosa package. So the interesting thing to me is why you'd run 3 Spandam over 4 Rebecca. Like, it seems like he has more targets to get from his Eridor. Or, excuse me, from his Spandam. Well, and Eridor. So, interesting. Anyway, we'll keep going. I do think what is most beautiful about this list, and I think what you'll see with a lot of the super high, I don't know how big this tournament was, it just says flagship first place in Japan. Host was CS. So if y'all know who or where or what that is, y'all tell me in the comments below. But the thing about this deck that is so nice is he's running 12 2K counters. And this is a pretty aggressive deck list, wouldn't you say? Like, I mean, you're coming in with, you got your Monkey D. Luffy's, you got your, your 4 Jobbers. You have 4 vanilla 5-cost 7Ks. You have 3 4-cost 6Ks and 2 3-cost 5Ks. Like, this deck is geared pretty aggressively. But it's also very well balanced defensively. 4 Gum Gum King Kong Guns. Guys, that's very strong. And then 3 Truna Bastardo, of course. I think the idea here, I'm surprised there's no barriers. excuse me. I think the one thing that I would have liked to have seen was like a barrier or two. Maybe instead of the 4 Gum Gum King Kong guns. But who knows? Maybe, hey, it won a flagship tournament, so I'm not going to be too critical. You know, if a deck's winning, we know it's working, right? So with this deck, I do have to say I would swap the Rebecca and the Spandam. But I guess the idea is you need to search for more Dressrosa cards than you do CP, because there are more CP cards than Dressrosa. But interesting either way. I really like the idea of the double searcher in black. And I think as time goes on, I think double searchers in black are going to become a thing. Like, I think this is just me predicting right now. You know, on 6/26, June 26 right now, I'm predicting. I do think there will be an incredibly solid red-black GARP deck that uses one of the 3 major searchers now, or one of the 2 major searchers now in black, being Rebecca and Branu, and then Nami as a red searcher, because I think there's something there, guys. I could be wrong. We'll see. Maybe not. We'll see how things pan out. But back to this deck. Sorry, guys. Let me get sidetracked. With these searchers, it adds so much to the black decks, because as you'll see in the next deck, black really kind of had all it needed. It just lacked a decent leader, right? So like, oh, well, no, you can go Zephyr, right? Or, oh, you can go Garp, or, oh, you can go, you know, that's really it, right? Well, Smoker. That became like the default was Smoker. Well, really, Rob Lucci's just a better Smoker in my opinion. Like, yeah, people can argue that, yeah, you know, there are certain situations where Smoker is better, of course. But there are plenty more situations I feel like where Rob Lucci is just statically better, right? It's just better, you know, just on average, it's just better. Because swinging twice for 5,000, in my opinion, is better than swinging once for 7,000, right? Because you can always buff any of your leaders as much as you need to per the Dawn you have, you know, on the board, not allocated, but like on the board. So anyway, I do think this deck is really well made, and by the way, Gats is nice because it does allow you to, like, you know, if you have Luffy down, and there's someone on the other side of the board you need to deal with, you can actually just, boom, up to one of your characters with Dressrosa type may attack opponent's characters. Opponents. Wait, it's such a small font, guys. I'm sorry. Is it active? I think it's active. Okay, up to one of your characters with the Dressrosa type may attack your opponent's characters inactive during this turn. There we go. That's what I was looking for. So I mean, you know, that's a big deal. You know, for cards like, well, Luffy, we know what Luffy can do. So I don't know. Maybe it is just a 2K counter, right? Because let me read Luffy real quick for y'all. I want to read it like word for word here. This character can attack active characters. Just period. On the card, he can do that. So maybe that Gats card is just a 2K counter. Or who knows, maybe it's good for Rebecca too, right? Early in the game. I don't know. I'm just brainstorming, just throwing out possibilities. Overall, this deck looks very solid. There are very few things I would change in it, to be honest. Like, I probably would just go down to, or I'd either go, it's hard to say, like 4 Rebecca and 4 Spandam makes the most sense. Like, I feel like I would take out an Aerodor, personally. Or no, excuse me. I would keep 4 Aerodors because that is really nice for ramping. I would take out 1 Gum Gum King Kong gun and go up 1 Spandam. That's just what I would do personally in this deck. Everything else looks really solid. Everything else looks really solid. I would even probably take out 1 Kaku to go +1 True Note Bastardo. I just think it's better. But yeah, this deck is very interesting. Looks really solid, really well built, pretty fine-tuned. I love how it's got all the 2K counters, and then it's also just very aggressive. It's even aggressively costed. This deck probably could use like a, you know, sorry if you'll hear my stomach rumbling right now, guys. Sorry, I'm getting a little hungry. But, you know, if, how do I say this? If, I was going to say, I think it'd be nice to see how a big 8, 9, or 10 cost character would be in this deck. Like, I feel like that'd be nice to mess around with and see how that does. But apparently didn't need it, right? It won without it. So this is interesting, and we'll definitely be following the Rob Lucci stuff as that goes forward. Now, real quick, let's look over at the next Rob Lucci deck. This one I really like. I'm a big fan of this one. Now, there are things I would still change in it, but man, okay, here we go. Because, that was one thing I was going to say is before we move on, where's your Sabos in this list? I feel like Sabo is just an auto must include going forward in black. Just period. It's just so good. Now, I don't know where I would necessarily put it in. I personally would take out the 2 Neros, those 3 cost 5Ks, and I'd take out 2 Kakus, and I would put in my 4 Sabos. I can guarantee you that, right? And like I said, I would take out the 1 Gum Gum King Kong gun and put in an additional Spandam. But again, that's just me. I still think this deck is really good as is. And actually, I did say I'd go Patrono Bastardo over one of the Kakus. So, I'd probably adjust a little bit, but y'all get my point. Maybe take out 1 Kumadori instead. But very interesting otherwise. Let's keep going. Really cool deck here. This deck I love. I love how this is just kind of proof of what I've always thought. Now, I haven't talked about it on the channel at all yet because, it's one of the things that made me want to make the channel, right? Was this idea like, man, black already has such good cards. Not broken or anything. I'm not saying black is broken. It's clearly not broken. But, black has such good cards already, and it's a shame that it's not doing better in tournaments. And I feel like the main problem with black right now is the leaders. Anytime you play a dual-colored leader, if you're not playing some insane aggro deck or some insane control deck, I don't know if you're going to do very well. When I say insane aggro, of course, I'm talking about like, something along the lines of Zoro, which I don't think we've seen yet from the aggro. I don't know, I think the red-green Monkey D. Luffy deck messed around with it for a little bit, but let's be honest, the Zoro deck was just king for so long. But then also, the red-green Law deck being more of that full board control, like where they just fill out the whole board with a bunch of blockers and, end up just being able to outvalue you. But with black, it's built more to be a mid-range curve deck, and there was no good leader for that. Like, okay, black-red Garp, that's cool, but you're always playing -1 life. You're always playing on a 1 life handicap to your opponent. Like to Zoros, to Whitebeards, and everything like that. At least 1 life, right? Like against Redbeard, or Redbeard. I was thinking Red Black Garp. Against Whitebeard in red. Actually, that's probably where the Freudian slip counts. Thinking of red Whitebeard. When you're playing Whitebeard, he's he starts with 6 life. You only start with 4 life. So that means he has a 2-card advantage of you over the course of the game. He is going to draw 6 cards from his life. You're only drawing 4. And I do think that's a serious problem. And I think that is, I won't get into it too much right now. We'll probably use that as its very own video talking about design flaws in card games. In One Piece in particular, in the sense where I don't think a leader who has multiple colors, I don't think he should necessarily be forced down to 4 life. I don't think it's fair. It doesn't matter that they have a larger card pool to choose from. They still have to pick and choose their cards that go in the deck, and they can only have 50 at the end of the day, right? Or, some decks, maybe they'll try and run 51. I don't know if that's a rule or not, if you can only run 50 exactly. But the point is, you're going to have 50 cards in your deck. Doesn't matter if they're red, purple, blue. It doesn't matter if they're rainbow colors, to be honest with you, because from what we see too, the only thing that really matters is the synergy. Like right now, the list we're looking at right now, Brand New can search up certain cards in this deck, quite a few cards in this deck, right? And then if we go back to the list we were just at, Rebecca can look up these Dressrosa cards. Spandam can look up these CP cards. So, I mean, the synergy is what makes the deck strong, not necessarily the availability of all these crazy colors. Because even in previous decks that we looked at, like look at Dofi, the Doflamingo deck. It's the fact that their film is what allows you to have so much strength, so much, how would you say it? So much long-term potential, right? Because you're able to just get these cards with these searchers. And you're starting to, I don't know if anyone's noticed that, but every single list I've covered so far has searchers. Just full stop, they have every single one. And now I've only done, as of recording this video, I've only done Rob Lucci now, Queen, Rebecca, and Doflamingo, the purple-green Don Quixote Doflamingo film deck. All 4 of those, if I'm missing one, I'm sorry, guys, I apologize if I can't remember, but all 4 of those are all running like double searchers because it's just so important for constructed. So anyway, let's keep going. Like I said, I can do a whole rant video on that. I apologize. I probably just threw 5 minutes of that into this video, but we've already kind of gone over from here. Well, actually, I'm sorry. No, we haven't. This one was totally different from this deck. So this is a CP Dressrosa package. This is a Navy package. Yes, it does run Dressrosa, Sabo, and Bartolomeo, and Fukuro's CP, you know, but this is a Navy package. That's why it's only running the brand new Searcher instead of the brand new and Dressrosa Searcher. Because it can run the Dressrosa Rebecca Searcher, but it cannot run Spandam. Spandam only works if your leader is CP. So, I mean, excuse me, it could run it in this deck, but what would you search up? There's only 2 targets, Fukuro and the whatever that event is there down at the bottom right. Yeah. So anyway, moving on. It's not called that. Rankayaku Amendachi? That is not what it's called. Hang on a second. I love when they do these little, it was almost like an Easter egg. Okay, Tempest Kick Sky Slicer is what it's actually called. I was like, what on earth, guys? Okay, so anyway, back to what we were saying. So this is the full Navy package. I don't have to talk much about it. I just want to talk about a few key features. So 2K counters, there are 9 of them. Excuse me, there are 12 of them. I didn't see Bartolomeo. It's running 12 2K counters. I don't know if they should be running Bartolomeo. Maybe they should, maybe they shouldn't. I'm not sure. Because Garp is you can actually search him up with brand new if needed. And let's be honest, you're not using that defender. You're going to use Fukuro or you're going to use Borsellino. But it never hurts to have extra defenders, of course. So a few things I want to talk about. 4 Sakazuki is absolutely standard. 4 Borsellino, standard. 4 Kuzan, standard. And 2 Kobe is actually becoming standard for those who don't play a lot of black. The thing is, people are playing Kobe like on turn 3. No, you do not do that. You save him for when you actually need him later in the game. Using him to combo with abilities that lower the cost of characters. Things like Tashigi, things like Suru if needed. Which, that is one thing I'm going to mention. He only runs 3 Ishos and 4 Kuzans as a means to lower the cost outside of his 2K counters, which you don't want to use 2K counters to lower cost. You need them as 2K counters, trust me. Especially playing black decks, you need those 2K counters. You need your blockers, you need your 2K counters specifically. 2 Impact Wave, I would love to see 4 Impact Wave there, guys. I'm not going to lie. I think Impact Wave might, I'm not trying to get any kind of debates or arguments here, but I think Impact Wave or Shock Wave, depending on your translation, that might be one of the best 2K counters, or excuse me, 2 cost 4K counters in the game. I'm not saying it literally is, but it's up there in the conversation with those guys, because getting it off the trigger is actually unreal. I'm just saying, getting this card off trigger, it can KO a Borsellino in their turn, right? Because it's no longer, because remember, Borsellino is on your opponent's turn, gain plus 1K and cannot be KO'd by effects, right? Okay, no big deal. I'll do it on your turn if you smack into my life and then I hit this on the trigger. Which is another important aspect of having 4 life versus 5 life. Having 5 life means you have the potential to have an additional trigger over someone who only has 4 life. Same thing with the 6 life stuff with Whitebeard. It's just such a big deal. Sorry, guys. I'll keep going back to that all day if I can. Let me keep moving on. So I love the 4 brand new. 3 Fukuro I do think is the hot spot for that. That is the sweet spot for Fukuro. I don't think you run 4. You can run 4, but I think 3 is the sweet spot. 12 2K counters. I love that. Isho. I didn't even run through the list, did I? 4 Borsellino, 1 Monkey D. Garp, 4 Kuzan, 4 Suru, 3 Isho, 3 Fukuro, 4 brand new, 2 Kobe, 4 Sakazuki, 4 Tashigi, 4 Monkey D. Garp. We need to talk about that. 4 Sabo, 3 Bartolomeo, 2 Impact Waves, and 4 of the Tempest Kick Sky Slicer. Yeah, I'm not going to... So the 2Ks we already talked about, all the defenders we already talked about, Borsalino, Fukuro, and Bartolomeo, and Sabo. Sabo, I don't need to talk much about, just an incredible card. But the card that really interests me in this list, and I don't agree with it, to be honest, is the Monkey D. Garp. In fact, I'd rather have an additional Kobe rather than have Monkey D. Garp, and then 3 of something else. Like, it's just, you're discarding cards from hand, and that's how... Okay, from my experience playing Black, which I do play a lot of Black, how many cards do you think you can discard from your hand? Because, just for the record, Sabo is not drawing you cards, right? Like, he's drawing... Let me say it like this. He's not increasing your hand size. So, if you have 6 cards in hand, right, and you play Sabo, well, now you have 5 cards in hand, you'll draw up to 7, and then discard 2 back down to 5, right? So, again, if you had 6 cards in hand, play Sabo down to 5, stay at 5. Right, after you draw 2, discard 2. So, Sabo, in and of himself, he's not really drawing you cards so that you can discard with Garp or Sakazuki. Kuzan, technically, is drawing a card. You know, with Kuzan, if you play him on turn 2, right, where you have 4 Dawn on the draw, so play him... So, if you have 5 cards in hand and you play him on turn 2, well, you go down to 4 and up to 5 again. He is actually drawing you cards. Brand New is actually drawing you cards. But this card isn't. You know, Sabo isn't. Sabo is still incredible. I'm not saying it's a bad card, but he's not drawing you cards. He's not generating card advantage for you in that way. He's allowing you to cycle. The tip of Sky Slicer over there in the bottom right, called Renkyaku whatever, this card is... it has draw 2 cards as a trigger. Its trigger is better than its main ability. Its main ability is K up to one of your opponent's characters that costs 0, or a stage that costs 3 or less. So, like, realistically, you know, this deck doesn't run a lot of ways to lower the cost of characters. It only runs Kuzan 4-drop, which has to attack to lower. And then it only runs, where was it? Isho, where you have to attach a Dawn to lower by 3. Now, yes, you can run Suru. Yes, you can run Tashi if you need to, or actually play them, not run. Of course, you'll run them. But yes, you can play them if needed. But I don't know. I do strongly urge against that. I do. You do what you have to do to win a game, but you get my point. So it just, I don't know. I don't think Tempest Kick Sky Slicer is really anything to write home about. Same thing with Garp. I just don't see them. Maybe a 2 of as Garp, I could see that. Going down to 2 Garps, I could see that making sense and working. And now for this deck, by the way, this was a top 16 finish in Malaysia. Okay, a Malaysia Championship placement top 16. So this was not a first place deck, so there is room for improvement, clearly, unless there was user error at play, which, you know, there's always the potential for that. But I think you guys get my point. So adjustments that I would make is all those Garps would be gone. Every one of them. So I'd have 4 free spots in my deck. All of those Tempest Kick Sky Slicers would be gone. And maybe I would take out the Monkey D. Garp for the Bartolomeo, I guess. So that way, it is the better 2K counter, in my opinion, in a deck like this. Because this deck is trying to establish tempo. So if I were to try to make any improvements, just my own personal opinions, is I would take out 4 Garp, take out 4 the Sky Slicers, have 8 spots open. With the 8 spots, I would probably add 2 more Impact Waves and 2 Meteor Fist, or is that what's called? Meteor? Let me see what it's called real quick. Sorry guys, it's like Meteor Volcano or something like that. Yeah, it's called Meteor Volcano. It is a KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 1 or less as a main, and then it has the draw 2. So it's just literally 1 better than the C9 Sky Slicer. I'd run 2 of those and probably 4 of the Volcano Fist. It's a 1 cost. Let me find it real quick. I got it up right here. Let me sort by event, so it's just a little bit easier for me to find it real fast. Oops, and I got to put Navy in. Sorry, guys. So this one is called... Where is it? Oh, there it is. Great Eruption. Excuse me. Great Eruption. That's the card I'd be going for. Because then you'll have access to more reduction. So draw 1 card, then give up to one of your opponent's characters -2 cost, or -2 to their cost during this turn. So just right away, it draws you a card, right? So you're paying 1 to draw a card. That alone is strong. Just so everyone knows, that alone is good. But then also -2 to the cost of one of their characters. And you do that, the order goes like this. You draw the card first, look at the card, make a new decision, and give -2 to the character of your choice, right? That you choose, that you target. I think that'd be better. At least as like a 3 of. And maybe go up a Kobe in that case. But that's kind of where I would go with it. Actually, no, I would stay at 2 Kobe. I would go down 1 Isho. I'd go 4 Great Eruptions. Go 2 Kuzan 10 cost. That's what I would do personally with it. So again, just to recap, -4 of the CP9 event, -4 Garp, -1 Isho. Yes, that's 9. Then I would go +2 Impact Wave, +2 to the other the Meteor Volcano. 4, go up 4 of the, I'd go up 3 Great Eruptions, excuse me. And then I would go up 2 of the Kuzan. I think that worked out. You guys get my idea. That's kind of what I would go for. That's just me. I don't know if it'd work or not. That's just what I would do. And I would change out the Monkey D. Garp for the Bartolomeo. Just to get your 2K counter block package fully rounded out. So that way you've got 4 Borsellino blockers, 4 Sabo blockers, and then 4 Bartolomeo. That's 12, and then 3 from Fukuro, 15. 1 out of 4 excuse me. I'm thinking of 60 cards. In a 50 card deck, it's going to be like 1 out of, 17 or something. 1 out of 18 is going to be goodness gracious. I am struggling so bad right now. My math just completely went crazy. I went the other direction with it. I think it's 1 out of every 12 cards. 1 out of every 12 or 13 cards will be blocker. So very solid, very, very nice. You know, we should even now we got to check the math real quick. Y'all know how it is. So what is it? There were 15. So what is that? 50 divided by 15. Yeah, so 15 goes into 50 3.3 times. So about 1 out of every 3 cards, a little better odds than that. 1 out of every 3 of your cards is going to be, you know, a blocker. Even though 4 of them are going to be 2K counters, that's okay. You know, that's fine. It's still a blocker. You know, what's better? You got to think of it like this. What's better if if they swing at your leader with a 6K and you block it for a 2K, or if they swing at your leader with like a 10K and you block it with a 2K. You know what I mean? With Bartolomeo literally physically blocking it. But yeah, you guys get the point. So I think, yeah, I'm even still thinking about the math on it. So if 15 goes into 53.3 times, then I guess it's about 1 out of every 4 cards. A little bit better than 1 out of every 4 cards will be a blocker. There we go. Okay, y'all correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. So, all right, I'm just rambling at this point, guys. I'm sorry. These are really interesting. I'm definitely going to be keeping Rob Lucci on my sites, guys. There's a few different ways you can build them, as you can see right here. Let me go ahead and end it there, guys. If you enjoyed, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I hope you guys liked it. And until next time, guys, peace.